To be a gardener, all you really need is soil, seeds, sunlight, and water. But once you start growing your own food, herbs, or flowers, you'll quickly realize there are a few tools that make the process a whole lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. I grew up in a really frugal buy-it-once type of household where we had the same TV for over 20 years and my mom is still using the same blender over 40 years later. So every tool I use, whether in the garden or in life in general, gets filtered through that same lens of long-term value and durability. And if I could go back to day one of my gardening journey, there are 4 tools that I wish I would have invested in right away. Now, because of the work I do as a gardening creator and educator, I've had the chance to test way more carts, pruners, nozzles, and tools of the sort than most people ever will. And that's helped me figure out what's actually worth the money and what's not. So in this video, I'll walk you through the 4 tools or types of tools that I wish that I'd started out with.
Number 1, a good hose reel. I cannot possibly overstate just how much of a time saver and annoyance reducer a hose reel is. It might seem like a small thing or useless upgrade until you've wrestled a tangled hose for the 5th time in a week or found yourself with a big pile of hose because you only had a few minutes to spend in your garden but not enough to coil your hose back up. Once you experience the difference, you'll understand exactly why I have this at the top of the list. I've owned a few over the years, from the likes of Vevor, Vago Garden, Giraffe Tools, and HoseLink. I'll spoil the surprise and say each one has worked just fine, and any hose reel is better than no hose reel. Those that I no longer have been given to friends and family and are still working great to this day. My Vevor hose reel was the most budget friendly, and while the hose wasn't high flow and the plastic enclosure isn't quite as beefy as some of the others, it's still a solid option at an entry-level price point, and they seem to always be running sales and promotions to make things even cheaper. The Vago Garden Reel was my first sturdier model, higher flow rate, thicker build quality, and a more unique color scheme. And while I love my current hose reel, I think that the green color on my Vago hose reel may have been my favorite to date. Their connector system is also great and a close second to my current reel. Giraffe Tools has a wide range of hose reels and reels of all kinds, honestly, and the one I have is ground mounted, which I use in the front of my house where mounting to a wall or post was neither an aesthetic or an ideal choice. The build quality is somewhere between the Vevor and the Vago, but it's held up perfectly fine in full sun here in Southern California in my front yard, which leads me to the one I'm rocking with these days. I would say this is the most premium of the ones I've tried, with a really great build quality and nice and beefy connectors that are very easy to change around. They also offer the widest range of in-house hose nozzles and watering wands out of all the aforementioned companies, should you want to buy once and cry once and be done with water purchases in your garden for the year. But to be clear, every hose reel I've used has functioned well. None have cracked, fallen apart, or failed over time. The main reason I recommend having one from the start is simple. It reduces the amount of time you spend on menial or tedious tasks in the garden and allows you to allocate the time you have to more useful garden tasks than coiling up piles of hose. Wrapping up your hose manually takes a minute or two, or longer if you're being precise. And I don't know about you, but in my pre-hose reel era, I often just left my hose haphazardly in a pile. A hose reel gets it done in seconds, so you can focus more of your time on actually gardening. I'll loop hose nozzles and watering wands into this point as a sort of 1B, because while all hose reels come with an included nozzle, they're rarely sturdy enough to handle brute wear and tear. Plastic nozzles can be totally fine if you're careful, but I've broken most of mine by accidentally dropping them on concrete, and this is not necessarily to speak poorly of any of them for that, but just know that if you're rough on your mostly plastic nozzle, it will break at some point. Of the included nozzles I've tried that came with their respective hose reels, the HoseLink was the best, and of their in-house nozzles and wands, I really love the long reach shower wand as a perfect companion to the hose nozzle I have recommended to anyone and everyone for years. And that is the Orbit 26812 8-pattern nozzle, which has been under $20 the entire time I've been recommending it to my fellow gardeners. It is almost fully metal, most importantly at the thumb control, and every single person I know has rated it as better than everything they've tried, including my friends, family, and other gardeners online. I've made so many short-form videos on this nozzle and bought it multiple times for others because it really is just that good and beefy. Still, whatever works for you, use that. Number 2, a garden cart. If you're doing more than just moving a few pots on a balcony, a big cart makes your life so much easier. I started out with the Works Aero cart and then added on the Gorilla cart, and there's a full comparison video on my channel if you want to take a deep dive and find out which one is better for you. Both are fantastic, and which one works for you will depend on what you need it to do. But I will say that if you're moving a lot of material at least 1 or 2 times a year, you should get the biggest possible cart you can fit in your garden, because it's so worth turning 12 trips into one, particularly if you're having to shovel soil or compost. A great cart lets you move anything and everything from mulch to tools to compost to boxes, or even water your seedlings all in one go. It's one of those tools you don't realize how much you'll use until you have it. The only thing to watch out for is the width of your gates or however you enter your garden, which is why I ended up going with the GCG 9 instead of a GCG 12 from Gorilla Carts. Size up, you'll be glad you did. Number 3, a size-appropriate pair of pruners and snips. This is one of the best investments you can make as a gardener, as you will likely be using them just as much or more than your hose reel. I've used everything from big box budget pruners to relatively high-end ones, and the best pairing for you will come down to a few key factors. For general use, I recommend having 1 set of bypass pruners and 1 set of snips. For pruners, the name in the game when you ask any horticulturalist or landscaping professional is definitely going to be Felco, namely because they strike such a great balance between price and quality, and also the ability to replace every part if needed. My top 3 favorite Felco pruners are the 2s, 6s, and 13s. The 6s are without a doubt the most versatile both for every task and every size hand. Short of having monstrously huge hands or tiny little fairy hands, these will almost certainly work for you. If you find yourself needing to make wider cuts on soft material and stems frequently, but don't want a bigger set of pruners, then I would recommend the 2s. But be mindful that if you're cutting something like deadwood, you'll need pretty gnarly grip strength, and you might be better served by a set of loppers. For those with larger hands, like myself, the 13s are absolutely incredible, because you can use them as a normal set of pruners, but with the extra length on the handle, you can very easily leverage much bigger cuts. Another great set of pruners that I've had since almost day 1 of my gardening journey is the pruner from Bare Bones Living. At almost half the price of the Felcos, it is literally the greatest bang for your buck in this category, and it's incredibly easy to sharpen, clean, and disassemble whenever you need to. I have gifted these many times, and they are just as much of a workhorse as the Felcos. As far as snips go, there are 2 that I love and recommend: the Felco 322s and the Bare Bones Herb Harvest and Strip Tool. I think it's wise to have a long and skinny set of snips for making very precise and hard to reach cuts that would otherwise be a bit difficult for a big lunky set of pruners. Once in a blue moon, I find myself reaching for my first set of little Fisker snips, which I bought many years ago, but 98% of the time I'm using either the 322s or the Bare Bones. The Bare Bones have the benefit of being incredibly compact and easy to store in a pocket, as well as the ability to strip various herbs with its huge range of hole sizes. And while it isn't necessarily unique to the 322s, I do love keeping a combo of the 13s and 322s in this little double holster while I'm working, which covers literally every task the garden could throw at me. Spending $20 to $60 once on a great pair that fits your hands is far better than buying new $5 pruners every year or two, provided you don't lose them. And that's the key: taking care of them and finding the right size that works for your hands. That all said, I also keep a beater pair around, just a cheap set I use for rough tasks like cutting open boxes or trimming chicken wire. It is nice to have something you don't mind beating up, and it saves your good pruners from unnecessary wear. Number 4, quality seed starting equipment. If you're just getting started or don't really have the time to start your own seedlings, it might not be essential. But if you plan to grow from seed year after year, investing in durable trays and seed cells early will save you a lot of waste and frustration when things break when you need them. I use aluminum trays and silicone seed cells for almost all my seed starting, and each year I add on another 1 or 2 of each to increase my capacity and replace my old plastic ones that inevitably break. Soil blocking is another sustainable and efficient way to invest in your seed starting setup and minimize the parts involved, but I enjoy my current setup enough to where I haven't been tempted to dabble. No doubt there is a fine line between being quote-unquote sustainable and spending your life savings on gardening gear, but if it sounds like something worthwhile to you, then I'd recommend switching over. Now, as an actual bonus, I want to mention 3 hand tools that have made a big difference that aren't just a trowel and a shovel, though both of those are indispensable. A sturdy cultivator like this one from Bare Bones is great for breaking up soil, mixing in compost, or refreshing raised beds, and when it comes to seasonal changeover, I'm using this every single day. A garden scoop is perfect for transferring materials where a trowel is too small or shallow-sided and a shovel is too big, especially helpful in container gardening. And finally, a hori-hori is incredibly versatile. I use mine for everything from slicing open bags, planting seedlings, to digging out root balls. It's a rugged tool that picks up where your pruners and trowel leave off.
So whether you're growing in raised beds, containers, in-ground, or even running a small homestead, I'm confident that all of these tools will make your work that much easier and that much more enjoyable. Every single one of them has helped me become a better gardener and use the time that I have outdoors more efficiently. As always, I hope that this video has been helpful for you, and if you want to support the channel, make sure that you subscribe and like this video. And if you feel like it, leave a comment down below on which tool you think will make the biggest difference in your garden. This has been Aaron, aka Garden Zaddy, and I'll see you on the next one.